Okay, so we started with digital image interpretation, then we moved on to the various digital image processing techniques. So, can you name the few techniques or processes that we can do? So we saw various processes: image rectification and restoration, which was basically image pre-processing. Then we have image enhancement, classification, data merging, hyperspectral image analysis, biophysical modeling, image transmission, and compression. So we already saw and discussed image rectification and restoration methods. Can anyone tell me a few methods, a few steps in image rectification and restoration? What are the methods that we discussed in the last class? Geometric correction, radiometric correction, and noise removal. So these three were the image rectification and restoration processes that we discussed in the last class. So today in this class we will discuss image enhancement techniques. Okay. So these are these all these techniques have some mathematical background to it, and as I mentioned earlier, we are not going into those details as of now. So I'll brush through what these methods are and why they are done. So image enhancement, it is a local point operation, but that means you are modifying each pixel one by one, right? We already saw that this digital image processing, in the steps of digital image processing, we saw that each of these pixels are fed into the software or the computer one by one, and they are processed. Any of these processes are undertaken on those pixels, and then they are processed, and then a new image is made, or a base map is made after the enhancement or after the processing. So this is a point or local operation, so which modify the pixel value. So in this process, image enhancement, you try to enhance some of the features in that image by three major operations, which are contrast manipulations, spatial feature manipulation, and multi-image manipulation. So these, as I mentioned earlier, these are also local operations. You modify the pixel values one by one. So they are modified by either based on the neighboring values, or the brightness values, or DNs are modified independently. All right. So this enhancement is carried out after you pre-process the image. That means you correct the image for its geometry, you correct it for radiometric errors, and you also remove the noise. After these processes, which are basically the pre-processing techniques, you will go for enhancing the image so that better data can be obtained or interpreted. The image can be interpreted better because the features are more enhanced now. So the main processes are, as I mentioned, they are contrast manipulation, spatial feature manipulation, multi-image manipulation, and convolution. One more is there. So we will discuss these three. Okay. So the first one is contrast manipulation. In that, to manipulate the contrast of an image, you have three other methods. You have three major methods, which are gray level thresholding, level slicing, and contrast stretching. So let us see each of those one by one. So the first one is, as I mentioned, contrast manipulation. So in that, first one is gray level thresholding. So in this gray level thresholding, as the name suggests, you are assigning a threshold level for the gray level, or gray level means it's represented by the brightness of the image, or brightness of the pixel, which is represented by the DN. So what you do here is you are going to fix a threshold DN value. Okay, you are going to fix a particular threshold DN value, and you are going to classify it into two. It's a binary classification. So anything below that DN is one particular feature, and anything above that DN is another feature. Okay. So you are segmenting that input pixel into two classes based on a threshold DN that you decide. So one is above that defined DN value or gray level, another one is below that defined gray level. So you can always, if you are looking at two different classes, you can always separate these two classes by fixing a threshold DN. So you will identify, okay, this is the minimum DN for so and so feature, and this is the maximum DN for another feature. So you fix that threshold DN. Once you fix that threshold DN, then what you do is you will apply this binary classification. So everything below a particular DN will go into black, and anything above that DN will go into white, or vice versa. So you can use this for gray level thresholding for a binary classification for separating two classes of a feature. So here I have mentioned an example, land pixels to 0 and water pixels to 1. So if you look at an image, you can clearly identify where is the land and where is the water. So it's a more or less a easier method. So the complicated part is to identify what DN value to what DN value is your threshold value. Hope that is clear. The next method is level slicing. So you identify you create a image histogram. So you make a graph. Okay, your DNs. You will represent the image pixels DNs as a histogram. You might have seen histogram of an image, that maybe a photo that you take in your mobile. If you go into the details, you might be able to see the histogram of that image. So similarly, you are here the DNs in that image is represented as an histogram, and that histogram is divided into specific sets or slices. So suppose it looks something like this. Suppose you have a graph and you have image histogram. So in this, so these represent the DN values. Okay, so what you do in level slicing is you will slice these into different classes of DNs. So this DN to this DN is one particular feature. This DN to this DN is another feature. So this method is called level slicing. So it's basically a more complex version of gray level thresholding. So these DNs are distributed in the x-axis of the image histogram, as I mentioned, and they are then divided into specific sets or slices, as I just showed now. So all DNs in a specific slice that is displayed as a same DN in the image. Suppose these are DNs. Maybe these DNs are, suppose we are considering DNs in the range of 0 to 255. Okay, suppose these DNs are, this is 0. Suppose this is 100. Suppose this is 200. Suppose this is 255. So all this, actually we have 256 DNs in that image, probably, right? Different brightness values we have. So I am classifying, or I am slicing these DNs based on their values to three classes, probably 0 to 100, 101 to 200, 201 to 255. So this will be represented as one color, this will be another color, and this will be another color, or different gray levels. I am going to classify that image into three. Right. Similarly, if you are having 6 different slices, then the image will have only 6 different gray levels. All right. So that is level slicing. So it's a bit more complex method, complex example of gray level thresholding. Okay. Then you have contrast stretching. So here, what you're going to do is in the first two methods, what you did was you selected a particular gray level and you classified them into more simpler, or you grouped them into single classes. But in contrast stretching, what you're going to do is you're going to do the ulta, where you are going to expand a narrow range of brightness value. Alright, you're going to expand a narrow range of brightness values to a much wider range of gray values. So this the advantage of this method is to increase the contrast between features. Alright. So what you do is here, usually a smaller set of histogram values of DN are used in a total of 256 gray values. So this range is spread over the entire DN range, which you can call it as linear stretch. So once you do this linear stretching, you will get a more distinguished output. The light DNs, or a lighter pixel, will become lighter, and a dark pixel will become darker, right? So you are actually linearly stretching your DN values so that your images, the contrast between the features will become enhanced. Is it clear? So once you you can you can calculate the new DN. There is a simple equation I know for that. Your DN assigned to the output image pixel. Suppose DN dash is the new DN, will be equal to DN minus the actual DN minus the minimum DN divided by maximum DN value minus minimum DN value. The whole thing into 255. So this will be your new DN value. So for each pixel like this, you will new DNs are assigned, and they are assigned and stored in a table or as a matrix. and that you can use that as a LUT or a lookup table for further classification. After enhancement, you can use it as a it's called a lookup table. Okay, not going into those details. All right. Then one advantage is that you can do some special analysis in contrast stretching, where the specific features assigned with a specific range of DNs. So maybe you will consider a smaller range of DN histogram and then stretch it to the entire range. Maybe for example, if you are considering water, more features are enhanced for that particular feature. Other brighter features will be washed out because it is displaced at a bright white level, because that is towards the highest DN. So same thing can be done to color as well. You can apply same to separate bands of image data, and then you can combine it. You can assign various ranges of brightness to the same feature itself, so that you can distinguish it further within the same feature class. You can distinguish it better. I hope it is clear. So within the same feature, suppose water itself, you instead of assigning one particular gray value or one particular DN, you stretch it further. You stretch that, you do a linear stretch to those DN values. So what you can do is within the same feature itself, you will have more number of classifications. Maybe a water with a particular level of turbidity, water with some oil spill on it, water with a particular amount of algal bloom, particular amount of phytoplankton. So within the same feature itself, you can stretch the DN range or that histogram range, and you can enhance its contrast, so that within the same feature you have a improved interpretability, probably I can say like that. Hope it is clear. So the next method is spatial feature manipulation. So in spatial feature manipulation, you have four different methods: spatial filtering, edge enhancement, Fourier analysis, and convolution. So let us start with spatial filtering. Again, it is a local operation. So the spatial frequency roughness variations in an image, you have sudden changes in gray levels. So you apply two different filters here. One is a low pass filter, other one is a high pass filter. So if you are assigning a low pass filter, you will emphasize the low frequency features, and you will de-emphasize the high frequency area. So basically it will blur your image, but the low frequency features or the you enhance your low frequency features. But if you are using a high pass filter, it's the opposite of that. You will emphasize your high frequency features and de-emphasize your low frequency features. So basically you are going to increase your spatial details in while you are using a high pass filter. So in this method, the DNs of a pixel are normalized with respect to the local average of the neighboring pixels in spatial filtering. So I'm going to a bit more detail of that method. So as I mentioned, the DN of a pixel is normalized in this method. In low pass filter and high pass filter, you are considering the DN, it's a local operation. You will go pixel by pixel. You will consider one pixel. You will take the DN of that pixel. Then that DN is normalized with respect to the local average of the neighboring pixels. All right. So in a high pass filter, it is implemented by subtracting a low pass filtered image from the original. All right. So for a high pass filter, you can subtract the low pass filter from the original. So that will give you the high pass filter. Okay. So low pass filter, it blurs or smoothens the image, but it can show better brightness areas in the original image. It will enhance its bright areas in the original image. So for doing this spatial filtering, generally you will have to basically improve your contrast. You will have to do your contrast stretching, what we discussed earlier. Contrast stretching you might have to do, so that within the same feature you have a larger distribution of DN values. So using these filters, you can enhance particular features depending upon their frequency. So that is spatial filtering. So the next one is edge enhancement. So this high frequency or the high pass filters, they do not preserve the low frequency or low frequency info or low frequency or low brightness information. Even though they exaggerate the local contrast, they do not preserve the low frequency brightnesses. So this edge enhancement method, they preserve the local brightness and contrast information. So to prevent the loss of data during high pass filtering, you will have to do edge enhancement. So there are various methods in edge enhancement. You have directional first differencing. You can use the Laplacian filter, etc. We are not going into details of that. You just understand that you have to understand what is edge enhancement and why it is done. Next one is Fourier analysis. I hope you have seen a Fourier transform somewhere probably. So Fourier transform, you are actually altering the frequency domain. Suppose if you have something in time versus frequency, you do a Fourier analysis, you will get a frequency versus amplitude. Okay, so you can actually go into the principal components of a image basically. So that is what you do in Fourier analysis or Fourier transformations. So in Fourier analysis, you are actually altering the frequency domain. So the image is separated to various spatial frequency components. As I mentioned, various spatial frequency components, maybe the brightness, maybe the frequency versus brightness. So you have frequency versus brightness, maybe, or the frequency versus amplitude, something like this. So you are actually you are changing the frequency domain of the input image, and using this Fourier transform you can separate it into its various spatial frequency components, maybe brightness versus frequency, brightness versus time, or some other brightness versus dn. So you can separate it into its spatial frequency components, and once you do this, then you can apply your required filter. So once you apply this filter, you can enhance the low frequency features or the high frequency features in that image. And once you do that specifically for various frequencies, you can invert this. You can actually do an inverse Fourier transform so that you can obtain the enhanced image. So what you will basically do is you obtain a image, you do a Fourier transform on that image so that you can represent it in any frequency component required. Then you can fiddle with those frequency components, you can alter those frequency contents, you can enhance those particular frequency contents that you need, and once you do that, you can do the backward process, you can do the inverse Fourier transform. So once you manipulate the altered frequency contents and then you invert this, what you will get a enhanced image now. So that is Fourier analysis. So these are the three methods in spatial feature manipulation, spatial filtering, edge enhancement, and Fourier analysis. Hope it is clear what these methods are and why it is done. Is that clear? So again, coming back to Fourier analysis, you can apply any filter in this Fourier spectrum. As I showed I showed you the Fourier spectrum. So I already also mentioned your low pass filters, high pass filters, etc. So once you develop this Fourier transform, you can apply any spatial filter into this. You can apply any spatial filter for this Fourier spectrum, and you can use a low pass filter, high pass filter, low or high frequency. You can segregate, noise elimination. All these processes can easily be carried out in a Fourier transformed image. So once you do that, maybe I want to remove a lot of noise from this, so I will remove this particular range. I will remove, suppose these are the ones that cause noise, suppose. So I will remove this, I will remove these peaks, so these frequency peaks I will remove. So once I remove this, then I have only this much remaining. So what I will do is I will invert this. So inverse Fourier transform I will carry out. So once I do that inverse Fourier transform, what I have is a enhanced image. All right, hope it is clear. All right. Moving forward, the last one in that, this last one is multi-image manipulation. So there are different methods in multi-image manipulation as well. You have spectral ratioing, then you have intensity, hue, saturation, color space transformation, then you have decorrelation stretching. So these are the three main methods in multi-image manipulation. So let's start with spectral ratioing. So spectral ratioing is, you are actually enhancing the image by dividing the DN values of one particular spectral band by corresponding values in another band for the same pixel. Okay. Have anyone tried to download a Landsat image? Have anyone downloaded a Landsat image here? Maybe Landsat 7 or 8? Anyone? Okay, so if you download a Landsat image, you can see that there are the same satellite image. The data is collected in various bands, right? Band 1 to 7. You can see there will be these 7 images will be merged to obtain one single image. Actually, that one single image that you see, the one single satellite image that you see, actually, the data is collected in various bands or various spectral bandwidths. Maybe 0.4 to 0.5 is band 1. Band 2 is 0.5 to 0.6. Similarly, for various wavelengths, micrometer. So similarly, for various wavelengths, the data is sensed, right? So each of this data is available separately. Okay, so this is band 1 data, this is band 2 data, band 3, band 4. Similarly, various data is collected in different wavelengths, okay, in the Landsat images. So if you consider this particular pixel here, for that particular pixel, you have the reflectance data or the emittance data in band 1 to band 7. So for the same single pixel, for this particular pixel, on this figure, on this figure, on this figure, you have the DN values from various bandwidths or various wavelengths. This is the basic idea. This is the basic thing that we are going to alter in multi-image manipulation. So for the same satellite image, you have a particular DN in that particular band. You have several bands and you have the DN of a particular pixel for all these bands. Okay. So in spectral ratioing, so this is the basis of multi-image manipulation. You have to keep in mind that you have various bands for the same image, that is, data is collected in various wavelengths for the same location, and a particular pixel in that figure have different DN values in various bands in which the data is collected. Okay, so in spectral ratioing, you're actually enhancing an image by dividing the DN value of one spectral band by corresponding values in another band for the same pixel. Okay, for that pixel you have the DN value, maybe in band 1 you have the DN value, this one you have. So this you are dividing it with a corresponding value, corresponding pixel, DN value of corresponding pixel in another band. This method is called spectral ratioing. So once you do this, you can basically get this spectral ratioed image can convey the spectral characteristics or reflectance characteristics or color characteristics irrespective of the scene illumination. All right, you're actually pretty much basically you are maybe you can say you are normalizing the brightness of that particular DN using the data from another bandwidth. All right, that's basic concept behind it. So once you do this, once you divide these DN values from the corresponding values in another spectral band, you can better obtain the spectral characteristics of that particular DN, whatever the scene illumination is. So this ratioed images, they portray variation in the slope of SRPs. The SRPs, what they show, it's basically, you remember the SRPs, right? SRP for maybe vegetation, look like this. I hope you remember this. Reflectance versus wavelength. So at different wavelengths, it had different reflectances, obviously. So if in this ratioed image, your SRPs also can be different. Okay, so different. You are actually taking a ratio between the reflectance at a particular wavelength, dividing it by the reflectance at a different wavelength. Maybe this value by this value. this value by this value. So your SRP is definitely going to be different. So this is generally useful for shadowed areas or illuminated areas on the sloped surfaces. So there, once you do the spectral ratioing, you can actually view the actual topography of the particular area, or you can use it for finer distinguishing the sloped topography. All right. Then the next one is intensity, hue, saturation, color space transformation. One more thing I want to mention about spectral ratioing. You can actually, there are principal component analysis and vegetation component analysis, basically NDVI and all you can generate using spectral ratioing. Does anyone know what is NDVI? NDVI, anyone? We have discussed this during the initial classes. Normalized differential vegetation index. So these can be obtained using vegetation components and all can be obtained using spectral ratioing. That is one application. So you can actually obtain an enhanced or a better idea of the vegetation versus open areas or non-vegetation areas, etc. Next one is intensity, hue, saturation, color space transformation. So we know our visible spectra. What we can see is red, green, and blue, and various combination of these colors, right? So I can assign any of these colors, red, green, or blue. I can assign any of these colors. So with their various combinations, different colors are further formed. So I can represent any of these bands in various colors that I need, right? Yes or no? So I can assign any color to any of these bands in my software. I can assign any color to any of these bands. Maybe I can merge them. All right. Maybe suppose the band 1 here is just an example I'm saying. Maybe the band 1 is 0.4 to 0.5. Okay. Absorbed in the blue region. Band 2 is 0.5 to 0.6. Band 3 0.7 to 0.8. Something like this. All right. So sorry, 0.6 to 0.7. So something like this. So maybe this is the actual blue, this is the actual green, and this is the actual red band. Suppose the data is collected like that. So unless if I assign the same colors to them, so for the band 1 if I am assigning blue, band 2 if I am assigning green, and band 3 if I am assigning red, with the combination of these three, what image I generate will look like the true image. What the what we can see if we merge these three colors, if we assign the same colors to these particular bands. So what we see visually will be basically a true color composite of that satellite image, isn't it? Do you agree? Here the DNs represent the reflectance in the blue band. Suppose band 1 represents blue. So here the DNs represent the intensity in this particular bandwidth or in this particular range. So if I assign this particular color blue to it, so these DNs will represent varying intensities of blue, suppose. Similarly, this one will represent various intensities of green. This one will show various intensities of red. If I merge these three, I create a composite image like this after merging these, after assigning these colors to this particular DNs. And if I am merging these three, the image that is generated will look like something we actually observe with our eyes. Yes or no? Do you agree? Did you understand that concept? Do you agree with that? Okay, so I'll explain it once again. So suppose this band 1 is 0.4 to 0.5, which is the blue color range, isn't it? And band 2 is 0.5 to 0.6. Suppose I'm just assigning these randomly. And band 3, it is 0.6 to 0.7. All right. This data here, the satellite image here, is representing, what does it represent? Basically it represents a particular brightness level, right? The reflectance in this wavelength. Yes or no? Right? So
Yes, sir.
that is represented as DNs, right? So these different values of intensities of gray represents the different DN values 0 to 255 probably. It can be 0 to 255, it can be 0 to 511, anything. Suppose if it is 255, so these intensities represent the various DNs in that range. That means its reflectance in this particular wavelength range. Alright. Now the second one represents reflectance in this particular wavelength range. Third one represents wavelength in this particular wavelength range. Alright. Now if you look at these bands, you can see that this is the blue color range, this is the green color range, and this is the red color range. So I am assigning for that range of DNs 0 to 255, instead of that brightness values, I am assigning a blue color. I am assigning a blue color filter to it. So various intensities or various brightness levels of DN is represented as various intensities of blue now. That's the first one. So this is I am assigning blue filter to it. The second one I am assigning green filter to it, and the third one I am assigning red filter to it. So basically this one represents the data collected in the red bandwidth or the red reflectance. This is the green reflectance, this is the blue reflectance. I am assigning similar filters to it now. Now if I merge these three, whatever I can perceive is a combination of these three colors. So if I assign these colors exactly to the same bands, the image that I observe will look like what I can see it with my own eyes. It will be a true representation of the colors in that particular area. Yes or no? Is that clear now? Yeah. So like this, I can assign these colors, the three basic colors I can assign to any of these bands I wish to. Okay. But unless it is assigned to the exact same range of wavelengths here, if I am not assigning this blue to 0.4 to 0.5, maybe I am assigning blue to band 3 here, as you can see in this figure. Maybe I'm assigning blue to band 3, green to band 4, and red to band 5. You can see this image. You can see the image here. Do you think this represents the true color on the ground? No. This is a false color composite or an FCC. This is called a FCC. If it was assigned the correct colors, I would call it a true color composite or a TCC or a natural color composite or NCC. Alright. So this is the basic ideology behind multi-image manipulation, where you will vary the bands to which you assign these colors. Okay, that is the basic concept here. Okay, so here you can represent a particular image, depending upon how many other bands it have. It will definitely be obtaining data in at least 3 bands. So you can assign these 3 colors to any of the obtained bands. Okay, suppose you have 3 bands and you can generate a false color composite or a normal color composite or a true color composite or an arbitrary color composite. Okay, so in a normal color composite, maybe band 1 and 2 and 3 are assigned to the blue, green and red components, and in the false color composites, maybe band 2, 3 and 4 are assigned to blue, green and red. Alright, so that is a false color composite as I showed you here. This is a false color composite because I am not assigning the correct color to the matching bandwidth in which the data was collected. Okay, this is just for visual image interpretation. Okay, so you can create a normal color composite, you can create a false color composite, or you can create an arbitrary color composite where different bands and colors combination assignments are used. Once you do that, that contrast is stretched by manipulating the contrast of each color channels, blue, green or red. And in this blue, green and red channels, each components of those channels, the components like intensity, hue and saturation, that can be varied separately so that one of these components doesn't affect another component. Alright, so this method can be used to merge data. As you can see here, you can assign these colors to different bandwidths to merge these data and observe it in a true color composite or a false color composite. Is that clear? So these false color composites are generally used for data which is collected in NIR. Here you can see, suppose blue is not assigned to band 1 or 2. Maybe this band 2 was 0.4 to 0.5. Then band 3 is 0.5 to 0.6, band 4 is 0.6 to 0.7, and band 5 is NIR. Suppose this is NIR. This is red, this is green, this is blue. But I am assigning blue to the green band, I am assigning green to the red band, and I am assigning red to the NIR band. So if I am assigning red to the NIR band, the different intensities of red here, it can be used to separate different types of vegetations, isn't it? Do you agree?
Yes,
Because
sir.
in NIR, the reflectance in NIR for vegetation is largely varying for different plantations, isn't it? So if I assign NIR a color of red, the different intensities of red represents different vegetations. So I can actually identify from this FCC, I can actually interpret which intensities of red represent what type of particular features or what type of plants. Maybe I can do a bit of contrast stretching as well in the red color so that that variation between different plants are a bit stretched. I can fiddle with the intensity, hue and saturation of this particular color or that particular band so that a particular feature which reflects better in that particular bandwidth is enhanced. Is that clear? I hope you understood it. Hope you can correlate it with the reflectance of different plants in the NIR range. For one planet is like this, or another planet is like this, for another planet might be like this, for another planet might be like this. So this is the NIR area, this is the green area, this is the red area, this is the blue area. So you can see that if I assign a particular color red, maybe I am assigning red for the NIR region, as you can see here. We know that in the NIR region, the plant reflectances highly vary. You can distinguish plant species in the NIR region, isn't it? We discussed this in the SRP of vegetation. I hope you remember that. So I can maybe fiddle with the intensity, hue, and saturation of that particular band as well. I can maybe do a bit of contrast stretching as well, so that the red colors in this image are better enhanced. I can maybe, if I'm looking at that particular feature, I can easily interpret that image better and identify various plant species in that particular area. Hope it is clear. So here you can see this is a what do you see on the left and what do you see on the right. You can't say that it is an original image because the data is collected in different bands. Basically, you will get this is called a true color composite. You can generate the true color composite only when you assign the colors in the visible spectrum to the corresponding bands in which the data is collected. Right? What you basically obtain is black and white images like this. Like this. This is what you basically obtain from Landsat. If you download one image and see, you can see that you will get a lot of black and white images in different bands, where the brightness represents the reflectance in those particular wavelengths, right? So here what I did was I assigned the correct colors, I assigned the correct colors in the visible wavelength to the similar bandwidths in which those data were collected. I merged the blue, green and red data and I got this image. So this is the true color composite. But here I assigned, probably I assigned different colors to different bandwidths. So I got a, what is this called? This is a false color composite. It can be a false color composite or arbitrary color composite because I don't know what colors were assigned to what bandwidths here. So this is a arbitrary color composite or it can be a false color composite as well. In a false color composite for the blue band, green, for the, um, you know, uh, for the blue band, nothing is assigned. This not merged. For the green band, blue is assigned. For the blue band, sorry. Oh my god. Suppose this is blue, this is green, this is red, this is NIR. Okay, so in a false color composite, for the green band, blue is assigned. For the red band, green is assigned, and for the NIR band, red color is assigned. So what you generate basically is a FCC. So if you assign any different color for any particular of these bands, you can generate a arbitrary color composite. Then you can fiddle with the intensity, hue and saturation of these various colors, and you can enhance various image features. So this can be used to merge data from the same sensor or multi-resolution data, different data sets also you can merge. Maybe this is a Landsat, one single image from Landsat. Maybe I can merge it with another image for the same area. Alright, so that is called intensity, hue, saturation, color space transformation. Is it clear? So here you can see NIR, infrared false color composite, NIR FCC, you can see here, right? And here you can see a TCC. This is an FCC, and these two are arbitrary. Is that clear? Because I assigned various colors to various data collected in various bandwidths. Is that clear now? So the last method in multi-image correction or multi-image manipulation is decorrelation stretching. So this is used when you display highly correlated MSS data or even hyperspectral data. You have data collected in several number of bandwidths or multispectral sensors or hyperspectral sensors. So one particular DN might not be of a pure color. It might be a combination, or it might be a color pastel. It might be a one particular DN or one particular pixel might be a combination of various DN values or various colors. So here you carry out decorrelation stretching to exaggerate the least correlated information in terms of saturation. So maybe you will in the previous one in IHS color transformation, you processed only 3 channels at a time: band 1, band 2, band 3. You assign some colors to it, or band 2, band 3, band 4. You assign some colors to them. But in decorrelation stretching, you can do this for any number of channels. You can assign the colors for any number of channels. So you are exaggerating the least correlated information in terms of saturation. Different saturations of the same color, or different shades or different levels of saturation you can assign to different bands. So you are actually exaggerating the leastly correlated information in terms of saturation here. Is that clear? So that is decorrelation stretching. So these are the different methods in image enhancement. These are different DIP operations. We saw image pre-processing in the last class. Today we saw image enhancement. The different methods are contrast manipulation, spatial feature manipulation, and multi-image manipulation. So next class we will go with image classification. After image classification, we have data merging and GIS integration. With that, we will wind up the course.